The next day, I tried to brush off the previous night's events as a figment of my imagination. After all, it was an old house and strange noises were to be expected. But as the day wore on, an unsettling feeling settled in the pit of my stomach, refusing to dissipate. That evening, as darkness fell, I found myself on edge. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind rattling the windows, sent shivers down my spine. I decided to distract myself by watching a movie, hoping to drown out the unease that had taken hold of me. As I sat on the couch, engrossed in the film, a soft giggle echoed through the room. My heart skipped a beat, and I turned my head, scanning the empty space around me. There, in the corner of the room, stood a small girl, her eyes wide and filled with an otherworldly glow. She wore a tattered dress, her pale skin almost translucent. It was the same girl from the night before, the one I had heard singing. Fear gripped me, rendering me unable to move. The girl took a step closer, her laughter growing louder and more haunting. I could feel the air growing colder, the temperature dropping to an unbearable chill. Panic surged through my veins as I desperately searched for an escape route, but the girl seemed to glide effortlessly towards me, her feet barely touching the ground. With a burst of adrenaline, I broke free from my paralyzed state and sprinted towards the front door. But as I reached for the doorknob, it vanished before my eyes, leaving nothing but a blank wall in its place. I was trapped. The girl's laughter filled the room, echoing in my ears, as she continued to draw nearer. Her voice, once innocent and sweet, now dripped with malice and darkness. I could feel her presence closing in, her icy breath on the back of my neck. In a desperate attempt to escape, I ran towards the stairs, hoping to find solace in the upper floors. But as I ascended, the steps seemed to multiply, stretching endlessly before me. Each time I reached the top, another flight of stairs appeared, mocking my futile efforts. Exhausted and terrified, I collapsed onto the stairs, my breath ragged and my body trembling. The girl stood at the bottom, her eyes burning with an unholy fire. She slowly raised her hand, beckoning me towards her. With no other choice, I mustered the last remnants of my strength and crawled towards her, my mind consumed by a mixture of terror and resignation. As I reached her, she reached out and touched my forehead, her touch like ice against my skin. In that moment, a flood of images and emotions overwhelmed me. I saw the girl's tragic past, her innocence stolen from her at a young age. I witnessed the horrors she had endured, the pain and suffering that had consumed her soul. She had become a lost spirit, trapped in the confines of this house, seeking solace and release. As the visions subsided, the girl's eyes softened, and a faint smile played upon her lips. She whispered words of gratitude, thanking me for acknowledging her existence and sharing her story. And then, with a gentle breeze, she vanished into thin air, leaving me alone in the empty house. Days turned into weeks, and the memory of that haunting encounter lingered in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been chosen to bear witness to the girl's pain, to be a vessel for her story. Determined to honor her memory, I delved into the history of the house, uncovering the tragic tale of a young girl who had met an untimely demise within its walls. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I dedicated myself to preserving her memory, sharing her story with the world. Through my writing and research, I brought attention to the forgotten spirits that dwell in the shadows, reminding others that even in death they long for understanding and compassion. The house, once a place of fear and darkness, became a beacon of hope and remembrance. I transformed it into a sanctuary for lost souls, a place where their stories could be heard and acknowledged. And in doing so, I found solace in knowing that I had given the little girl the peace she had longed for. To this day, the house stands as a testament to the power of empathy and the importance of remembering those who have been forgotten. And as I continue my journey, seeking out the stories of the supernatural, I carry with me the knowledge that there is a thin veil between the living and the dead, and that sometimes it is our duty to bridge that divide and bring light to the forgotten. The following day, I couldn't shake off the eerie encounter from the previous night. The image of the ghostly woman, her ethereal presence and piercing gaze, haunted my thoughts. Yet despite my fear, A part of me was inexplicably drawn to the cottage. I couldn't abandon it so easily. Determined to uncover the truth behind the spectral woman, I delved into the history of the cottage. Hours turned into days as I scoured through dusty archives and faded documents, piecing together the puzzle of the past. And finally, buried within the annals of time, I discovered a tragic tale that sent shivers down my spine. The cottage had once been home to a young woman named Amelia, who lived during the 19th century. She had been deeply in love with a man who promised her a future filled with happiness. But their love was forbidden, and their secret meetings were discovered by Amelia's strict and disapproving family. In a fit of rage and desperation, Amelia's father had locked her away in the cottage, determined to break her spirit and force her into an arranged marriage. The isolation and heartbreak proved too much for Amelia to bear, and she met a tragic end within those very walls. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I began to understand the strange occurrences that plagued the cottage. Amelia's spirit, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, sought solace and release. She longed for someone to acknowledge her pain, to offer her the compassion she had been denied in life. With a newfound sense of purpose, I decided to confront Amelia's ghost. I lit candles throughout the cottage, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. As the night fell, I stood in the hallway, waiting for her presence to manifest once more. Minutes turned into hours, and just as doubt began to creep into my mind, I heard a soft whisper carried by the wind. The air grew heavy, charged with an otherworldly energy, and there, standing before me, was Amelia, her translucent figure bathed in an ethereal glow. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of sorrow and longing, met mine. I could feel her pain, her yearning for freedom and closure. With a trembling voice, I spoke to her, offering my empathy and understanding. I assured her that her story would not be forgotten, that her presence would be acknowledged and honored. As I spoke, Amelia's form began to fade, her spirit gradually dissipating into the air. But before she vanished completely, a serene smile graced her lips. It was a smile of gratitude, of acceptance. She had found the peace she had longed for. From that day forward, the cottage became a place of solace, a sanctuary for lost souls. I dedicated myself to preserving the memory of Amelia and the countless others who had met tragic fates within those walls. I transformed it into a haven, a place where their stories could be shared and their spirits could find solace. The strange occurrences in the cottage gradually ceased, replaced by an aura of tranquility. But I knew that the spirits of the past still lingered, their presence a reminder of the fragility of life and the power of remembrance. As I continued to live in the cottage, I felt a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to be a conduit between the living and the dead. I understood the importance of acknowledging the forgotten, of giving voice to those who had been silenced by time. And in doing so, I found a sense of purpose, a connection to a world beyond our own. To this day, the cottage stands as a testament to the resilience of spirits, a place where the echoes of the past can still be heard. And as I carry on my journey, seeking out the stories of the supernatural, I do so with the knowledge that the line between the living and the dead is often blurred, and that sometimes it is our duty to bridge that divide and bring peace to those who have been forgotten. The incident with the mysterious calico cat had left me both bewildered and intrigued. As a volunteer at the animal shelter, I had grown accustomed to the playful antics of the resident animals, but this encounter felt different. There was an otherworldly presence that lingered in the air, a sense of something beyond the realm of the living. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved into the history of the shelter. It had been standing for decades, serving as a safe haven for countless animals in need. But as I dug deeper, I stumbled upon a forgotten tale, one that sent chills down my spine. Decades ago, the shelter had been a home to a woman named Emily, a passionate advocate for animal welfare. She had dedicated her life to caring for abandoned and mistreated animals, pouring her heart and soul into the shelter. But tragedy struck when a fire engulfed the building, claiming Emily's life along with the lives of many beloved animals. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I began to piece together the puzzle. The calico cat that had appeared before me was none other than Emily's spirit, forever bound to the shelter she had loved so dearly. She continued to watch over the animals, her presence felt in the gentle brush against my legs and the mischievous pranks that occurred. Embracing the supernatural aspect of the shelter, the staff and I affectionately referred to Emily as the resident ghost cat. We shared stories of her playful antics, the objects that mysteriously moved, and the papers that seemed to vanish into thin air. It became a running joke, a way to honor Emily's memory and the love she had for the animals. But as time went on, the encounters with Emily's spirit grew more frequent and intense. Staff members reported hearing faint meows in empty rooms, feeling a comforting presence during moments of stress, and even catching glimpses of a spectral calico darting through the corridors. One evening, as I was doing my rounds, I entered the room where Emily's spirit was said to be most active. The air was thick with anticipation, and a soft purring filled the space. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. There, in the corner of the room, sat Emily's ghostly form. Her eyes sparkled with a warmth that transcended the boundaries of life and death. I knelt down, extending my hand towards her. To my surprise, she nuzzled against my palm, her ethereal fur brushing against my skin. In that moment, a flood of emotions washed over me. I could sense Emily's gratitude, her appreciation for the care and love we had continued to provide for the animals in her absence. It was a bittersweet connection, a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of compassion. From that day forward, the shelter took on a new purpose. We not only provided a safe haven for animals in need, but also became a bridge between the living and the spirit realm. We embraced Emily's presence, acknowledging her as a guardian and guide for the animals that passed through our doors. As the years went by, the shelter flourished, becoming a beacon of hope and healing. People from all walks of life were drawn to its unique energy, its connection to something beyond the ordinary. And though Emily's spirit continued to roam the halls, her presence was a comforting reminder that love and compassion transcend the boundaries of life and death. To this day, the shelter remains a testament to the enduring bond between humans and animals, a place where the line between the living and the spirit realm is blurred. And as I continue my journey, seeking out stories of the supernatural, I carry with me the knowledge that sometimes the spirits of the past linger, reminding us of the power of love and the importance of never forgetting those who have come before us. The memory of that fateful night has haunted me for years, etching itself into the deepest recesses of my mind. The image of the pale hand emerging from the darkness of the closet, its ghostly presence sending shivers down my spine, has remained vivid and unsettling. After that terrifying encounter, my sister and I were forever changed. We became prisoners of our own fear, unable to escape the lingering dread that resided within the confines of our shared bedroom. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind rattling the windows, sent our hearts racing, fearing that another ghastly visitor would emerge from the depths of that dreaded closet. Our parents, although concerned, dismissed our claims as mere childhood imagination. They assured us that there was nothing to fear, that it was just a figment of our overactive minds. But my sister and I knew the truth. We had witnessed something inexplicable, something that defied rational explanation. In an attempt to regain a sense of safety, we pushed our beds to the opposite side of the room, as far away from the closet as possible. We hoped that by distancing ourselves from that sinister portal, we could escape the clutches of whatever malevolent force lurked within. Night after night, we lay awake, our eyes fixated on the closet door, dreading the moment it would swing open once more. Sleep became elusive, our minds plagued by nightmares and visions of the pale hand reaching out to claim us. The weight of fear pressed upon us, suffocating our spirits and stealing our childhood innocence. As the years passed, the memory of that night began to fade, buried beneath the layers of time and the distractions of life. We moved on, growing older and finding solace in the belief that perhaps it had all been a product of our overactive imaginations. But deep down, a part of us still held onto the lingering unease, the knowledge that something inexplicable had occurred. It wasn't until I returned home for a visit, years later, that the past came rushing back with a vengeance. As I stepped into the room that had once been my sanctuary, an icy chill enveloped me, sending a shiver down my spine. The closet door stood ajar, just as it had that fateful night. Fear gripped my heart as I cautiously approached the closet, my sister's voice echoing in my mind. With trembling hands, I pushed the door open, expecting the worst. But to my surprise, there was nothing out of the ordinary. No pale hand, no ghostly presence. Just an empty space, devoid of any supernatural presence. Confusion washed over me as I tried to make sense of it all. Had it all been a trick of the mind? A shared hallucination between my sister and me? Or had the entity that had once haunted us finally moved on, finding solace or perhaps another victim? The questions remained unanswered, and I realized that sometimes, in the realm of the supernatural, there are no clear explanations. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, forever lingering in the shadows of our memories. As I left the room, a sense of relief washed over me. The weight of fear that had plagued me for so long began to lift, replaced by a newfound sense of courage. I had faced the unknown and survived. And although the scars of that night would forever remain, I knew that I had grown stronger in the face of adversity. To this day, I am cautious of the unexplained, aware that there are forces beyond our comprehension that exist in the world. But I refuse to let fear dictate my life. I choose to embrace the mysteries, to seek out the truth, and to confront the darkness head-on. And as I continue my journey navigating the realms of the supernatural, I carry with me the knowledge that sometimes the most terrifying encounters can become the catalyst for our own personal growth and resilience.